So, should you self-publish or should you traditionally publish? It's up to you. So, the person that I'm replying to is about to publish a book. Congratulations, no small feat. So, what route should you go for? I myself chose to self-publish, but both have their pros and cons. With traditionally publishing, generally speaking, now, this isn't one-size-fits-all advice, but I would advise new authors to avoid traditionally publishing because while you might get a contract and an advance fee, it's up to you to make that money back before you ever break even. And given that, typically speaking, you get a lower royalty, it's going to take more and more book sales to accomplish that for you to get a second book contract. Now, if you're someone that already has name recognition and an engaged audience, it doesn't really matter. That being said, either way, the marketing is going to fall upon you. With self-publishing, your overhead costs are higher initially because you have to hire your own book editor, cover designer, all that shit. But in the long run, you will make more money self-publishing because you have to sell a fraction of the amount of books, considering you get 65 to 70% royalties through KDP. Self-publishing also helps you to have more creative flexibility. You're not going to have sensitivity readers, so to speak, as much. Like, generally speaking, the traditionally publishing industry doesn't like to take chances. They like to go with what sells. Whereas the self-published authors have a bit more creative flexibility. Now, you should still get sensitivity readers for things like racial stuff and all that, but generally speaking, whatever your muse is, you get to put down on paper. Also, with self-publishing, you have the ability to update and revise your manuscript, which is a little bit more of a process when you're traditionally published. Not that it still can't be done, but it's much easier when you're self-published. Being traditionally published will help you, obviously, get into bookstores a lot easier. Now, if there's demand for your book, you will be able to get in anyway. And it's not the same as it used to be, so the gap between self-published and traditionally published isn't as wide anymore, and people generally don't have as bad of a thought of indie published books. They are very big on TikTok, and people like to support indie authors, so there is that caveat to consider. Either way, both options are valid, but me personally, I'd want minimum $100,000 before I would even consider working for a publishing company. Working on deadlines, having editors say that you can't have this in the book and we need to change this aspect of the story, and it just is not something that sounds appealing to me. But that is my own personal bias, so take it with a grain of salt. If it's a route that you choose to take, then it's perfectly valid, and it is the route that most people expect to take. But the indie self-publishing industry is doing very, very well. So hope that helps at least a little bit. Also, just like querying, getting a literary agent, all that stuff is way too much bureaucracy for my likes. Just click and I'm done.